If this is your first time, I hope you'll stay. Espero que te quedes. So in this video, we are looking at book reviews. Rather than book review, I prefer the term analysis of your book. There you go, a book analysis. So, una crítica literaria es lo que vamos a estar viendo. And I'm going to just go through some of the things you ought to be thinking about if you are indeed preparing your book review. Okay, so what are the things you should be thinking about? I've got some nice sentences that I think you're going to find useful, but also I want you to start thinking about the elements that you ought to be including in your book review. Okay, and so this will be useful not just for A-level students, but also my advanced ESL students. Okay, right. So there are so many things we have to go through, and I feel as though this is so very wordy today that we really have to take our time. Okay, so we're going to be looking at author, we're going to be looking at the angle, the story, the characters, and so on. So, but first of all, I'd like to start with the first point over here, which is, what are you reviewing? Es una obra. Una obra is a play, okay? Es una obra. Es una novela. Is it a novel? Okay. I've gotten the accent here. Okay? So, histórico. Es histórico. Es una comedia. Es tragicomedia. Es un diálogo. ¿Qué es? What is it that you're reviewing? First things first, okay? So obviously you're going to do your title, who is it written by, and then we're going to move on. Before we even start to think about the structure, you need to make sure you've read the book in detail, slowly, at your own pace, and what you're going to do is underline the most important events, okay? The most important conversations or dialogues, words. What was the essence of the book? What is it really about? What are the words or the concept that define the most important points? Make sure you jot them down. What are the most important events in the book? Write those down. Okay, the title. Do you understand what the title is about? Make sure you check, look into that before you even start to write. Because if you don't understand the story, you don't understand what the book is about, you can't start writing as yet. Okay, so go back, make sure you do understand and you've got all your notes there highlighted to help you with the review. You need to fully understand what it's about. And I'm sure you would have been working on this in class, so you've got lots of notes down already. Okay, vamos a empezar. Okay, as with everything, you need to remember your structure. Okay, you start with your intro, which would probably be about 3 lines-ish. Then your main body with your different paragraphs, which is going to cover each of your specific points, and then you'll get into each point and elaborate on them, and then conclude and decide whether or not you recommend and what the book is actually about. Okay, so go back. So again, an accent, is it political? Okay, make sure you're jotting these up. Don't forget your accent on the I. Okay, and what about the timeline? Is it linear? Does it happen in a progressive sort of way? Or in your books, do you know flashbacks or flash forwards, or are there evident jumps in time? How is that relevant? What does that tell us? Things like that you need to be considering. Okay? Right. I think the most important thing is, we're going to start here with author, I think. La autor, okay? Why is the author so important? Well, it's the person who is leading us, and obviously he's a very important factor. So let's look at some sentences that you might find useful to do with the author. What does the author do? These are some sentences you might find useful. Okay? Nos obliga a reflexionar sobre. So he forces us to think about, to reflect upon. Okay? Nos obliga a reflexionar sobre. Forces us to face or to think about. I like that sentence a lot. Okay, so you can just jot that down. Nos obliga a reflexionar sobre. Okay, he forces us to reflect on or to think about. Okay. Con esto, el autor quiere decir. So perhaps you've mentioned something and you want to elaborate by saying, with this that I've mentioned, con esto, el autor quiere decir. With this, the author means, maybe it has multiple meanings. What do you think it means? With this, I think the author means such and such a thing. Okay? Con esto el autor quiere decir. This is what the author means by this. Okay? Right. I love this word for you. Destaca. I'm sure you've seen destaca before. Destaca is highlights, when he really wants to emphasize something. So, el autor destaca, okay, emphasizes the relationship between, la relación entre este personaje y este otro. Whatever it might be. I'm just giving you some vocab which I think will be helpful in the future. Destaca, it's a good one. So, highlights. I'm always trying to write with the wrong hand. Highlights. Highlights. Okay, to emphasize, to highlight. Okay, con esta referencia, with this reference, con esta referencia demostrar. With this reference, demuestra. I don't like this here in plural. Demuestra. Shows, demuestra. Con esta referencia demuestra la importancia de. So with this reference, he shows the importance of. What else does he do? Nos transmite. Transmits. Okay, that's one of the main role of the author, to transmit something to us, the reader. Transmite. Transmits to us. Nos transmite. Good one for you. Nos recuerda. Nos recuerda. He reminds us that we're all human, you know. Nos recuerda que somos todos seres humanos. Nos recuerda. He reminds us. Okay, next. Nos muestra. He shows us. Nos muestra que las cosas no siempre son lo que parecen. Okay? He shows us that things are not always what they seem. That's so applicable, isn't it? You can apply this anywhere. Applicable. Sometimes I translate words to English and I think, does that word really exist? Okay? It's applicable. Nos muestra que las cosas no siempre son lo que parecen. Okay? What's the intention of the author? Okay? Tiene la intención de manipular, so he has the intention. He has that. He intends to manipulate, manipular. So he tends to play with the way we're thinking a little bit. Okay, to bring us in and then lets us out and reel us in and so on. To educar. Lots of times. Many times it is to educate us, educar. Sensibilizar. I love this word. Why? Because it's raising awareness. It's making us feel sympathy, making us become more sensitive to a topic or a situation. I like this verb, sensibilizar. Please write that one down. Sensibilizar. Okay? To make us aware, to make us be on that side, to make us more sensitive to fake friends. Sensibilizar? No. To make us more aware, to make us feel more, okay? To make us more sensitive to the topic. Or conmover is his intention to move us, to touch us. Ah, qué conmovedor lo que ha dicho. So moving, so touching. Sometimes that's the intention, conmovernos, to move us, to touch us. Okay, right. Let's move on to the story, the actual story. What's the story about? Okay, ¿de qué va? Okay, this is a nice way to start. Se trata de, and then you would put the topic. It's about, se trata de translates to it's about. The story is about. La historia se trata de. The story is about un matrimonio. Okay, it's about a husband and wife, un matrimonio, whatever it is, se trata. And where does it take place? Okay, tiene lugar en Inglaterra en los años 20. So in the 20s in England, that's where it takes place. In Colombia en los años 40. I don't know where it takes place. Okay, or alternatively, you could say se desarrolla en, puede ser, la España de la posguerra. So it takes place in post-war Spain, for instance. These things you could jiggle them about, manipulate them, change them around to fit what it is you're writing. Okay? Este libro nos transporta al mundo de. So this book takes us to the world of Shakespeare, for instance. Obviously not, you're not doing English, are you? So this book takes us, nos transporta. It takes us, it transports us somewhere. Al mundo de transports us. It takes us to the world of, where does it take us? Where does your book take us? Okay? That's something we need to mention. Most importantly, we're going to move down to los personajes, so the characters. Most important elements of the book. What are the characters like? Los personajes, ¿cómo son? Es un personaje plano. Carrie es un personaje plano. ¿Qué quiere decir plano? It means that the character is not developed very well in a one-dimensional character, okay? And so perhaps you want to say that, or maybe you want to say es un personaje redondo, okay? Talk a little bit more about the main character, okay? La protagonista, okay? Nos podemos ver reflejados en él o en ella, okay? We can see ourselves in that person, in that character. Nos podemos ver reflejados. Love this sentence. Okay, we can see ourselves in that person. Reflejados en él o en ella, or en ellos, if you want to be talking about plural or two different people. These pretty much mean the same thing. They're just different wording because obviously I don't want everyone writing the same thing. Uno puede sentirse identificado con el protagonista. I've gotten este, protagonista. Okay, so one may feel identified or can feel identified with the main character. Okay, uno puede sentirse identificado con el protagonista o la protagonista if it's a female. Okay, good. La historia, so the story, o el personaje es suficientemente realista como para que uno se pueda identificar con él o ella. So it's relatable. It's relatable. You're saying that the story or the character is so relatable that you can really feel that connection, you can relate to them. So that's basically what these three sentences are saying, is that you can relate to them, you can understand the character and what's going on. It's something that we can all relate to, okay? It's relatable. All of these things here I would say means relatable. Okay? Right, it's just a fancy way of saying that. Okay, let's move on. What about the language, el lenguaje? Okay, let's have a look. What about the language, el lenguaje? Okay, is it overly complicated? ¿Es complicado? ¿Es literario? Okay, is it quite literary? Is it coloquial? Street talk? Is it colloquial? Is it familiar? Okay, is it poético? Is it abstracto? Is it difícil de entender? Okay, talk a little bit about the language. What language is used? Is it plain? Is it easy to follow? Is it straightforward? Does it use a lot of jargon? Okay, jargon, eso me lo he inventado. Okay, right. And where should we go next? Okay, since we're here, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to go back over here and look at some useful expressions, some phrases. Okay? Analicemos. Let's analyze, because let's face it, that's what you're doing. You're analyzing a piece of text. Analicemos. That's a nice word for you to have. Okay? Debemos considerar, because lots of times things are not black and white. So perhaps you ought to consider this point as well as all the other points that were quite clearly stated. Okay, debemos considerar. We should consider this. Okay, debemos considerar. No se puede negar que, I'm sure I've given you this one before. I am positive. Okay, it cannot be denied that. Okay, no se puede negar que. Next. Es interesante observar cómo. It's interesting to observe or to see how it all unfolds. Interested to see how, cómo. It's interesting to see how it all unfolds. Okay? Next one. Para entender lo que está ocurriendo, es necesario, okay, to understand what's happening, it's necessary to understand, for instance, what's going on culturally in that moment that the book was written, the political climate, what was going on culturally, okay, the author's words, the expressions, so many things you can stop and look at and analyze, and you know there's always two facets to everything. So think, okay? That's what you're doing, you're analyzing. So it's not just a one-dimensional notion, is it? Okay, let's have a look at our opinions down the bottom. Okay, let's see if we could go down just a little bit. So, it goes down to the bottom to my opinion, which you cannot forget your opinion. Mi opinión. Okay? Encuentro que es necesario tener en cuenta, okay, to bear in mind, or to make a note of, hacer nota. Mi opinión es que. My opinion is that. Me parece que, I think that. Es necesario, and then again you can elaborate on that a little bit more. So, es necesario tener en cuenta, to bear in mind, or hacer nota. I like these for you. And we're going to go back over here and have a look at your ending para concluir. Okay? Este libro examina, is that idea, examines, looks at such and such a point. Sin embargo, although you might consider this and that as well. Cuenta la historia, it tells the story. with the aim, con la intención, with the aim, with the goal, with the objective of maybe educarnos, to educate us, I don't know, or to change our mind. Maybe they want to change our mind. Hacernos cambiar de parecer, cambiar de opinión. What was its aim? Okay? Logra. Este libro logra. What does it achieve? Logra es achieve. Lograr, to achieve, logra. It achieves. And would you recommend it? Who would you recommend it for? Okay? Who would enjoy this book? What did you find most, the most touching? What was the most touching part of the book for you? Okay? What was the biggest learning point for you? Okay? Think of all these things, and I think that is it. We've covered language, we've covered opinions, we've covered what the story is about, where it takes place, the characters, what kind of style it is, the author, and some useful phrases. Let me know if I missed out on anything very useful, and I will try and fix that, or I will add, or I could even do another video, okay, if I have time. Let me know how you're getting on, and with that, I am going to leave you because las alergias, chicos, las alergias. Oh, esto no está nada bien. Pero con esto os vamos a dejar. Until next time.